All my life, like you've probably dreamed as well, I have wanted to watch every second of the World Cup, and I finally was able to do it, and I am so tired. So tired. I'm in the eastern part of the United States. I was waking up at 4:30 a.m. for like 8 straight days, losing my freaking mind, and I will definitely do it again 4 years from now. Now I'm gonna hold you right there for a brief disclaimer. I know Qatar sucks and is awful, which is why we raised over $11,000 for Amnesty International while watching the World Cup on my Twitch channel, the link to which is down in the description. I'll leave the donation thing up for another week if you want to donate. We tried to do our part for human rights as much as we could while watching the World Cup. What was I saying? And the knockouts have been absolutely insane, but first the group stage. This was actually one of the craziest World Cups in recent history. I mean, it's no 2002 with Turkey and South Korea making the semifinals, but there was a 3-day stretch at the end of the group stage where South Korea beat Portugal, Japan beat Spain, Costa Rica took a lead against Germany that was gonna knock out Germany and Spain for like 2 of the craziest minutes ever. Cameroon beat Brazil, and Tunisia beat France. That's the one that everybody always forgets. Oh, also Australia beat Denmark, all in 3 days. This stuff always fades into the mists of time because all these teams do eventually get eliminated, at least at this tournament, but my goodness, the end of the group stage and the start of it with Saudi Arabia beating Argentina had some of the most entertaining, incredible, emotional upsets I have ever seen, and that is why I always love international ball. These tournaments produce such intense emotion in such a large group of people. I don't know if I'd trade it for anything. Another huge takeaway from the group stage is I was here watching Argentina lose to Saudi Arabia, and it never, for the life of us, looked like they were gonna make it as far as they have. As you probably figured out about a video like this, I'm recording it before the final, so this person doesn't know if Argentina won. They did win. And Past Zealand, I am sad for you because you haven't seen this match yet. They start this tournament losing to Saudi Arabia, who just is not good. I mean, clearly they're better than they were, but still, they're not good. They lost their next 2 games to Poland and Mexico. The mental fortitude that was required to go from that moment that I was watching, which felt like the final house fire around Messi, to where they are now is beyond impressive, and I was optimistic and I still didn't foresee it. Also, another key from the group stage, frickin' Morocco and Croatia were in the same group. Do you guys forget about that? The same group that knocked out Belgium. Remember when we were all dumping on Belgium for finishing behind Morocco and Croatia? Remember when we were all dumping on Canada for, oh, Canada, you suck, you have 0 points, you know, like all that stuff? Really shouldn't be blaming them as much as we are, because those 2 teams made the semifinals and finished 3rd and 4th in the tournament. Morocco and Croatia were clearly very good this time around, and Belgium, while not being as good as they used to be, still had a really difficult group to deal with. So did Canada. Still deserved to beat Belgium. Never forget, there was also Qatar, the actual Qatari national team, who, separate from the country, I felt bad for the dudes in the national team because those boys were scared. I don't know what was going on. I bury my head in the sand. I watched all the extended highlights from the Asian Cup 3 years ago, and Qatar was the best team at that tournament. They beat Japan, they beat Iran, they looked good doing it. Almoez Ali scored 9 goals. Qatar, I thought, was going to show up at this tournament, and the team on the field was going to surprise some people, but instead they looked like this time's rendition of Panama, where they were completely overwhelmed by the event itself. But the biggest thing, especially out of the group stage, is the changing of the guard. Germany and Thomas Muller's been vanquished. Luis Suarez has been vanquished. That Belgian golden generation's been vanquished. 3 teams that really dominated the narrative of some of the past World Cups. Those guys are gone and they are not coming back. Messi's in his last World Cup. Ronaldo in, well, I have to assume is his last World Cup, even though his sister, which is definitely Ronaldo on his sister's account, said that he might play when he's 41. Luka Modric and Ivan Perisic definitely in their last World Cup, running it back with Croatia. Even somebody as innocuous as Xherdan Shaqiri. These guys have been part of World Cups for the last 3 or 4 renditions, and they're finally on the way out. And that was a sad takeaway for me. I did a whole video on the group stage. If you want more in-depth thoughts about that, it's linked up there. But the business end of the World Cup, the knockout stages, started so much more boring than the freaking group stage. Oh my goodness. All the trash got taken out in the round of 16. And my country, the United States, was part of the trash. We lost to the Netherlands, very straightforward. Argentina, of course, beat Australia. That match had like 5 seconds of drama where Australia nearly somehow scored 2 goals to come back. France just obliterated Poland, which everybody and their mother could see coming. England flattened Senegal, who didn't have Sadio Mane and had already outkicked its coverage to even get here into the round of 16. Brazil barnstormed South Korea. Portugal destroyed a normally pretty tough to beat Switzerland team that could have been a fun miracle. And then Japan and Croatia was that spicy matchup where you're not quite sure who's the favorite. Goes to penalties, but even in penalties, the Japanese just forget how to shoot. Like, I'm pretty sure my grandmother could kick a ball harder than some of those Japanese players in the penalty shootout. Livakovic made some saves, but some fairly easy saves, and Croatia goes through. And then finally, we felt like we were in the World Cup knockouts because we got Morocco and Spain. Granted, I slept through the first hour, 20 minutes of this match because it was basically just this. Hey, Gavi! What? You want to pass? Sure, dude. Here you go. Oh, sick, dude. Right back at you. But once that ended, Morocco just destroyed Spain on penalties. Spain was having what Japan was having, and it was not the thing you wanted to be having from the team cafeteria. Some atrocious penalties, Yassine Bounou being an absolute brick wall, making a couple of saves, and Morocco heading to the quarterfinal. Just the fourth African team to ever do it, the first Arab team to do it, and the first North African team ever to do it. All of those things were incredibly cool, and then we were treated to an absolutely spectacular quarterfinal. This was an amazing round of this tournament. It started with Croatia against Brazil, which, honest to goodness, if you look at the XG, if you look at the advanced gen, AI mechanic statistics, Brazil dominated this game, right? Croatia had no business being in this game, but they did have business tying it because they subbed in Bruno Petkovic, who plays for Dinamo Zagreb in the Croatian league, and of all people, he scored the 117th minute equalizer after Neymar scored what he had to assume was the winner in stoppage time of extra time's first half. It was a beautiful goal by Neymar. It was his hero moment, and Bruno Petkovic is the guy that stole it from him. Petkovic's shot took a massive deflection, but this is why you have to take advantage of your supremacy, because any team can score one goal, and Croatia is much better than any team. And the mental fortitude of this Croatian team when the lights are brightest is just unbelievable. I don't blame people for missing penalties at World Cups. It is an amount of pressure that absolutely no one can imagine except for the people that are in those moments. But Croatia just seems to be able to handle that so freaking well. I mean, they've won the last 2 World Cups. They've won 4 penalty shootouts. 4. 2 different goalkeepers, too. Subasic last time, Livakovic this time. England and France played a wonderful game where England just lived up to the billing, and oh, cheerio, gonna miss another penalty now. Here we go, lads. Harry Kane sent his second penalty into orbit. Again, do not blame him. He's an amazing player and has scored so many important penalties. He freaking already scored a penalty in that game. But he did miss, and England had outplayed France, but there's just no stopping Olivier Giroud for some reason. I don't know, I don't know what cryogenic chamber they pulled this version of Olivier Giroud out of, but he is incredible. But he's the guy that scored the second goal. Aurélien Tchouameni is the guy that scored the first goal, and his long shot against Pickford was essentially his announcement that, hey, I'm going to be a world-class midfielder for the next decade. How you doing? Learn how to say my name. Or else. The other 2 games were stupid. Amazing. Argentina-Netherlands was the best game of the entire tournament. I watched the entire tournament. Argentina-Netherlands was the best game of the entire tournament. Absolutely unbelievable. And it didn't look like it was going to be for the first freaking 80 minutes because Argentina was the better team, no doubt, no question. They dominated the Netherlands. And then Louis van Gaal realized something. Argentina is short. And the Netherlands, fun fact, actually the tallest country in the world. Dude, what? Montenegro's pushing them for it? Oh, this is crazy, dude. Montenegro's catching up. Look at that. Right now, anyways, the Netherlands still the tallest country in the world, depending on who you ask. And they just brought in this guy.
Weghorst. I've never heard. That's not even a real name. Wout Weghorst. You belong on a Harry Potter film.
He waltzes out there and in front of an absolute wall of giants scores 2 goals and sends us to extra time out of absolutely nowhere. It was unbelievable to witness. I was losing my mind. There was so much drama and edginess. There were, how many cards? There were 14 cards. The referee was completely out of his depth. There was a fight in front of the Dutch bench after Paredes kicked the ball into him. I somehow hated both teams by the end of it and loved watching the match. They both gave everything, and that is what the World Cup is all about. And then eventually, Emi Martinez, who is a fabulous penalty goalkeeper, made the difference. No, seriously, Emi Martinez in the Copa America is the reason that Argentina won the Copa America Actually, he single-handedly beat Colombia in a penalty shootout in that tournament, and I knew once this went to penalties, Argentina was gonna win. Like, seriously. It's no offense to Noppert, but he just isn't as good at saving penalties as Emi Martinez. It wasn't close. Then there was Morocco and Portugal, which was stunningly straightforward. Portugal followed the Spanish script to a T. Morocco was able to defend in almost exactly the same way. Ronaldo didn't start, came off the bench, still wasn't able to do anything, which no shame, the dude is 37 years old. But the difference in this game to me was the goalkeeping. One mistake from Diogo Costa, he comes off his line, he doesn't get to it, Nasiri gets to it first and heads into an empty net. Yassine Bounou was given a couple of opportunities, iffy opportunities, to make a mistake for the Moroccan back line. He didn't. He is one of the best goalkeepers at this tournament, incredibly sound, and was able to produce yet another clean sheet. At this point in the tournament, Morocco had still not conceded a goal scored by the other team. They'd only conceded one goal, and it was an own goal. And the win made Morocco the first African team to ever get to a semifinal of a World Cup, and obviously the first North African and Arab world team to get to the semifinal of a World Cup. This was completely uncharted territory. And then the semifinals were super boring. Croatia just ran out of magic. I mean, analytically, you can trust analytics as far as you can throw them, right? But analytically, this Croatian team was not as good as the one 4 years ago. They didn't have the goal-scoring punch they had with Mandzukic in the Russia World Cup, and it showed. They got overwhelmed early. They lost the momentum with a penalty kick that some people will debate. I think it was a penalty, and Argentina just kept control of the game. Messi had his magic moment with that swerving run against world-class defender Josko Gvardiol that I will never forget watching. And in the other semifinal, France unfortunately scored very early. That made this game weird. Morocco played particularly well, but France seemed to set out to just control the game ever since it scored Theo Hernandez in the 5th minute. The second goal was scored by Randall Kolo Muani, who scored with literally his first touch, but it was the same story as Theo Hernandez's goal. Kylian Mbappe made the goal by attracting 5 defenders, dancing through them, and somehow getting a deflected shot off that went right to an open French player because the entire country of Morocco was within 5 feet of Kylian Mbappe. Kylian Mbappe at this tournament honestly is on track to be the greatest international player of all time. An honor I believe is held by Pele right now with his 3 World Cups. Kylian Mbappe is 1 match away from winning his 2nd World Cup, and he's 23, and he already has double-digit goals at a World Cup. And even when he's not scoring, he's making a huge difference. How this guy's 3 years younger than I am, and he's making this kind of experience difference on this stage. It's unbelievable. Very boring semifinals, though. I love the drama, I love the pageantry, but the best 2 teams won, and that brings us to the final, Argentina and France after Croatia beat Morocco in a rather entertaining 3rd place game. And then there was the World Cup final, the crowning of Lionel Messi, but it was perhaps the greatest sporting event ever played. I said arguably because I'm certainly not the overall expert on these things, but when you consider the stakes, Messi's final World Cup final, very likely anyways, the chance to crown the GOAT, and then to blow a lead twice to the heir apparent Kylian Mbappe, who scores the 2nd hat trick ever in World Cup final history. It was crazy, but for the first 80 minutes, it wasn't. Argentina got 2 goals in the first 36 minutes. A penalty for Messi. He was brilliant from the penalty spot the entire tournament. Scores again on the world's biggest stage. And Angel Di Maria, the other veteran winger, gets open on a beautiful Argentine break and tucks it home to make it 2-0. And France never really looked like coming back. France made 2 substitutions in the 40th minute. They took off Giroud, they took off Ousmane Dembele, and they brought in Kolo Muani and Marcus Thuram. Thuram was there, but Kolo Muani made a serious difference. He wins the penalty in the 80th minute that Kylian Mbappe coolly slots away, exercising his penalty demons from the Euros. What floored everyone is that a minute later, he scored again. In a World Cup final, Kylian Mbappe scored 2 goals inside 2 minutes, and the second one was a beaut. Side-footed volley on a chip over the top of the defense, and Argentina was stunned. After this, the match was end-to-end. It was just like Argentina-Netherlands. The game had broken open. A ton of misses from both teams and clear opportunities, including Lautaro Martinez, who seemed to be channeling his inner Gonzalo Higuain. This brought us all the way to extra time, where Gonzalo Higuain, Lautaro Martinez, missed another opportunity, but the save went right into the path of Lionel Messi, who shot it hard at the goal, and it crossed the line before being cleared. There was also a shout for offside, so everybody had to delay their celebration, and it was kind of awkward, and then eventually it was given, and it looked like the World Cup winner. This is until the ball bounces to Kylian Mbappe in the 117th minute outside the box, and he has a go, and it hits Gonzalo Montiel right in the elbow, outstretched from his arm like a chicken wing. It's in the box, Mbappe gets another penalty and scores it in the 118th minute, completely exercising his penalty demons and scoring the second ever hat trick in a World Cup final, the first since 1966. So then, of course, we're going to penalties, except we're not, because Randall Colomawani, as fate would have it, ends up in on goal with negative 10 seconds left, 10 seconds past when the whistle's supposed to blow, and Emi Martinez makes the most important save in Argentine history. It would have been a walk-off World Cup winner, one-on-one, on a volley from over the top from Colomawani, and Martinez saved it. This sent us to penalties, and that's where Argentina was always the favorite, because Emiliano Martinez is a brilliant penalty kick goalkeeper, and Hugo Lloris on the day just was not very good. The shootout started with the best two players in the field, Messi and Mbappe, both scoring, but after that, there wasn't too much drama. The next two takers for France missed. Lloris never really looked like he was going to save one, and Argentina essentially waltzed to a World Cup win in a penalty shootout. Now, as fate would have it, the guy who gave away the penalty in the 118th minute, Gonzalo Montiel, took the penalty that won it for Argentina. They went 4 for 4, and France only went 2 for 4. The final whistle brought about scenes of incredible joy that brought millions, maybe even a billion around the world to some form of tears. Not me, though. It was special, and there's a feeling that Mbappe is going to be back, and so it didn't feel mean to celebrate in the face of the French team. On a sporting on-the-field sense, one of the best World Cups that has ever been played. It had the most goals ever, most penalty shootouts ever, and the only one that Lionel Messi has won to separate himself from maybe everybody. It was a pleasure to watch the entire World Cup. I am exhausted. I'm going to go sleep for the next 4 years, and I'll be back. If you want to watch that full group stage recap, you maybe missed a lot of those early matches, well, it's right up there. You can just keep on binging. You don't have to move. Well, you have to move like one muscle to get, it's a few. It's probably complicated, but you can get the mouse up there and not expend too much energy. Words.